Hey everybody, Steve here in Palm Springs. I just solved a 50-year mystery and I thought I'd share it with you today. As I mentioned in a recent video, I've been busy scanning old photos, old family photos for the last couple of weeks, and I still have hundreds to go. We have more than 1,000 old family photos and also documents that I'm scanning in, digitizing so I can preserve them, and then I'm giving the originals to my daughter Marcia. I'm trying to do all that before I kick the bucket. I don't want them to have to deal with it after I'm gone. And also, I realize that most of the photos are not labeled. So there's very few people left in our family who would recognize any of the people in the photos. So I'm scanning them in and labeling them. And it's taking me forever. It's going to take me the entire summer. But once I've got everything scanned in and labeled as far as who everyone is in each picture, I'm going to give her all the originals. But I wanted to have a copy for myself and for my brothers and my cousins and anyone else in the family that might want to see some of these photos and documents. And I also wanted to be able to upload a lot of these photos and documents to our family tree and also to our Find a Grave memorial pages for those who are no longer with us. So one of the documents I came across was this. I don't know if you call it a document, it's a book. It's called In Memoriam. And this was a funeral guest book for my brother Bruce's funeral back in 1977. Back when I was growing up, whenever you would go to a funeral, there would be a funeral guest book that you would sign. People, whoever came to the funeral would sign in. So I decided to go ahead and scan in all of the pages that are filled in. And I was looking through the names, and it really brought up a lot of sad memories, but also a lot of good memories. And just reminded me of how many people who attended my brother's funeral I completely lost touch with over the years. But as I was going through and reading all the names, something really jumped out at me. I don't know about you, but I had a few classmates who I've always remembered, and I've always wondered whatever happened to them. Did they get married? Did they have kids? Did they move away? Did they die? Well, one of my classmates, who I've always wondered about, was named Eldon. And over the years, I always wondered what happened to Eldon. When I would walk to school, I would walk right by his house, and so I would stop at his house and wait for him while he was getting ready and finishing up breakfast, and then we'd walk to school together. That was one of the main memories I have of Eldon. It was a 15-20 minute walk to school, so every day we would talk about all kinds of different things, and I just remembered really liking Eldon. I just thought he was a great guy, and I always just wondered what happened to him. And over the years, I had asked about him, and no one seemed to know whatever happened to him. And then the internet came along in the 80s, and Google came along, and so I Googled his name every now and then, and nothing ever came up. Now, he had a very distinctive name. His name was Eldon, and here in Southern California, there are not a lot of Eldons. But over the years, I don't think I've ever come across the name Eldon. So I thought, well, his name is so unique. His last name wasn't as unique, but I thought with the first name of Eldon, he should be pretty easy to find online in a Google search, but he never came up. No matter how many times over the years I've searched for him, his name never came up. So I just thought, gosh, when I searched, I would search by the city, by his name and the city where we grew up, and nothing, absolutely nothing came up. So I was very surprised and kind of sad not to know whatever happened to him. And it's been over 50 years since we graduated from high school. And so as I'm looking through the guest book here, through about 100 different names or more, all of a sudden I see his name. And I was like, what? And not only his name, but his mom's name. So his mom was at my brother's funeral, and so was Eldon. I don't remember Eldon being there at all. Now, I know a lot of our classmates were there, and I do remember quite a few of them, but for whatever reason, I don't remember Eldon being there at the funeral. So this was a real surprise. But here they were, both of them in this funeral guest book, and the biggest surprise was the spelling of Eldon. At first I looked and I thought, well, maybe it's just the way they're writing E. Maybe it's just a weird way of writing E, because it looked like E-A-L-D-O-N. His mom's name was Mrs. Eldon, and then the last name, and she spelled it E-A-L-D-O-N, and then Eldon spelled his name the same way, E-A-L-D-O-N. And I thought, well, I guess that's how he spelled his name, with an A. Never occurred to me to try different spellings of Eldon. I just thought there was one spelling, E-L-D-O-N. So I went online and I Googled Eldon and his last name and the city where he grew up, and bingo, he popped right up. There was a photo of him, now in his 70s like me, and I recognized him. I thought, wow, he sure got old. Of course, I didn't age at all over the last 50 years, but I recognized him. He has a family, he has kids, grandkids, and still lives in the general area where we grew up. And I was really happy to know that he's still alive. I think he's now retired like me. And boy, it was like seeing my entire life flash before my eyes. Like, we went from childhood to retirement in the blink of an eye. I haven't seen him since, well, I guess the funeral, and I don't even remember seeing him at the funeral. And this was a couple of years after we graduated from school, from high school. So the reason I wanted to share this with you was just because I thought it was neat that this funeral guest book helped me solve a mystery that I've been curious about and been trying to solve for over 50 years now. Never even occurred to me. This has been in a box for decades and decades. I may have looked at it once or twice over the last 50 some years, but I obviously, when I was looking at it, I didn't notice the spelling of Eldon's name. And I think maybe because I was taking each page and I was scanning each page in, and then I was blowing it up and looking at all the names very carefully, and that's when I noticed the different spelling that just never occurred to me that he would spell his name that way. So I wanted to share this with you just to let you know, if you're into ancestry and genealogy and searching for your old friends or family members, this is a reminder for me, for sure, and maybe helpful to some of you as well if you're also into putting together your family tree or just looking for old friends and family members who you haven't seen in years, that it might help to try different spellings. So I'm definitely going to remember that going forward. Now that I'm getting more into genealogy, my daughter's a genealogist and she's really heavily into it and has been putting together our family tree. So I'm trying to, you know me, I'm really into grave sites and find a grave. And I use that all the time. And so I'm building our family tree and other family trees using Find a Grave, where she uses Ancestry. Find a Grave is free, and you can go on and just include, I really like how you can create a memorial page, and then you can link all the family members in all different directions, and you can also add photos and their life story and a lot of information that when you just have a family tree and Ancestry, I guess you can add photos and various things, but it's not quite the same. It's not as visual, and I'm a very visual person, so I think that's why I like Find a Grave maybe a little bit more, at least creating the family tree in Find a Grave. Marsha's also doing an Ancestry, so we'll have it both ways. So I was just very surprised, never expected that, and never in a million years expected to solve a mystery in this way. I'm curious, have any of you done the same? Have you looked at your old funeral guest books and found things in them that helped you with your family tree or helped you find someone from your past or filled in a little information or solved some mysteries in your family tree or just your life in general? I'm curious. Please share with us in the comments if you have. Now, you're probably also wondering if I contacted Eldon. Well, I haven't yet, and I don't know if I will or not, or if there's even a way to. I found him online in a couple of different ways, and I think maybe one was through Facebook, so maybe I could contact him. I'm not sure after all these years I really even need to contact him. I'm just really happy to know he's still alive, that he lived a nice, long, happy life. I mean, assuming he had a happy life, it seems like he did. And would it be fun to reconnect? Yeah, I think that would be kind of fun. So, I don't know, maybe he'll see this video. Maybe he watches YouTube and he'll see this video. And maybe he'll leave me a comment, and maybe he's coming to Palm Springs. He doesn't live that far away. Maybe half hour to 45 minutes away. And so that would be fun. That would be fun to reconnect and have lunch or something here in Palm Springs or where he lives and just compare notes of our lives over the last 50 some odd years. So yeah, that would be fun. I'm not going to actively reach out to him, but I'd be thrilled if he did want to get together, and I would be very happy to do that. So if you're watching, Eldon, please leave me a comment and we'll figure out a way to connect and get together. That would be fun. And we'll make a video about it for this channel. Yeah, a reunion. And who knows how many other high school and grade school friends are out there. I keep hoping that actually by doing this channel that some of them will watch this channel and reach out to me. So far no one has, and I do know a number of my old high school friends and people that I've known from the past also moved to Palm Springs, because I've heard from various people or through different ways that some of my old schoolmates also live here in Palm Springs now. It's not that far from where I grew up. It's an hour and a half away. And I think we all grew up in the San Gabriel Valley in Southern California, and anyone who grew up there came to Palm Springs. Pretty much all came to Palm Springs, at least for a vacation or a weekend once in a while. And so Palm Springs was a part of all of our lives in at least a small way when we were growing up. For me, in a very big way. But so far, no one has contacted me, and it could be just because they don't even recognize me. And obviously, I look very different than I did 55 years ago. I'm going to keep searching. There are definitely some other friends and family members and high school friends and grade school friends that I would love to at least know what happened to them if they're still alive. So that's one reason I'm doing the scanning in all of these photos, because a lot of our friends are in these photos as well. So I'm just hoping that by doing a lot more research, by digging a little bit deeper now, that by scanning and sharing some of these photos, that maybe some people will recognize the photos and reach out in that way. So there's lots of different ways to connect online these days that we never had when we were growing up. And even for decades after we got out of high school. It's only been in the last 25, 30 years that we've had the internet and YouTube and social media where it's quite a bit easier to reconnect with people from your past if you want to. Now, I also got the answer to 2 other mysteries by looking at 2 other funeral guest books, and I'll share those with you in a separate video. One guest book was from my grandfather's funeral, and the other was from my uncle's funeral. And one was really surprising and shocking. The other one was pretty surprising too. So I'll share that maybe in the next video. I don't know when I'll post it, but I'll share that in an upcoming video. Again, in a funeral guest book, of all places, I never would have expected to get some answers to questions that I've had for many years. So I am curious if this has happened to any of you as well. So if so, please share. I would love to know if you found funeral guest books helpful in your searches as well. And I'm just glad that my grandmother kept some of these and they were passed down to my mom, and I'm glad my mom kept these, and then she passed them on to me, so I'm passing them on to Marcia. So who knows what family members or others might find in these guest books 100 years from now. Maybe other things that I'm not even aware of today. So it's pretty cool. It's part of history, part of our personal history, and sometimes that's the most interesting history. So anyway, I hope to see you all again on the next video.